everybody know this session is being recorded. So just be aware. Anyway, my name is Bruce Douglas. I'm with the Nevada State Library, Archives and Public Records. I'm the Early Literacy Coordinator and Youth Services librarian person. And I'm glad that you all are here today, and welcome. And just a quick go around. I want to do a quick icebreaker, and this is just brief, very brief. I want you guys to look in front of you and see if there's, and pick an object and try to figure out what you could do with that object. So like if you have a cup, you could say, oh, I can drink from it, or I can put my pencils in it, or something like that. So let's start with Debbie. What's in front of you and what can you do with it? Okay, maybe not Debbie.
No, I had to unmute and I was
yes, we always have that problem. So what you got?
I have an anniversary card in front of me and I can read it often.
Cool. Emily? An object, unmute. Unmute, okay.
Sorry. I've got too many choices. Not to steal yours, but I have a mug. It is a unique one. It has two handles, if you can see that. And I could drink from it. I could put pens in it. I could use it as a paint water, things like that. It could be a vessel for other things. Or if it has a chip in it or a crack, it could be a little plant holder.
Well, awesome. Yeah. And Jana, what you got in front of you?
All right, don't laugh. The first thing that my eyes fell on was this wand that I made for summer learning. We did a wand making thing. So I could pretend to put a spell on y'all, I guess. I can't really do anything with it for reals because it's just a dowel.
Well, if I had that, I would turn myself invisible and transport myself to another time. Anyway, Kira, what do you got? Can you write it in real quick? I have a journal. I can write in it or tear out the pages to make origami. Awesome. Okay, is it Lisa or Alyssa? I think it's Alyssa, but I'm going to make sure. Alyssa must be having a little technical. Alyssa, you there? Okay, we'll come back to you maybe. Let's see. Nicole, what do you have in front of you?
Let's see, I have my cute little giraffe. I think it was a plant holder, but I use it for my pens. And I love giraffes.
And Sue Lynn, what do you got?
Well, I have a cat.
That works. You don't have to pick that up.
And I can pet her. That's what I do all day, actually. She's in a box on my desk. I've got a little fruit box so she won't sit on my papers and my pens and my keyboard. And she calms me down.
Aww. And B.L. Johnson from Henderson, what do you have?
Hey, it's me, Betsy. Sorry, I don't have a camera. I have my coffee mug in front of me because it's only 10.
Yep. That is definitely needed. And Vanna from Carson City. Did I get you already?
No, I haven't gone yet, but I'm in our makerspace. So in front of me, I'm printing the headbands for the face shields. So that's what's in front of me.
Oh, cool. And what's in front of me, and I don't know if you can see this too well because of the blackout, is my wife's picture of Tori Amos. And every now and then I get to look up at her going, so that's much it.
But what can you do with that, Bruce?
You can stare at it and wonder what she's thinking. She does look kind of naked, but she got one of them halter top things on. But yeah, I just wonder what she's thinking when she took that picture. But okay, so now that we got that all out of the way, let's go ahead and get this started. Okay.
Bruce, were you teaching us like executive functions by doing that?
Yep. Okay, these are objectives today. We're going to understand what facilitated learning circles are, what makes learning circles a valuable learning tool, sharing of early literacy and mind in the making skills in virtual story times, and a brief what is at stake. And our rules for participating: please be respectful, don't speak over one another, switch off all distractions, that's dogs and cats excluded. Don't multitask during the learning circle if you can, please. The learning circle is going to run about 45 minutes, so you guys won't get angry stares at your coworkers if you're late to the desk. So, and since we've already done this, hello everybody. Glad that you are all here. As I said, I'm Bruce Douglas, and let's talk a little bit about how facilitated learning circles work. Has anybody ever participated in a learning circle?
I have participated in restorative practice circles, but not a learning circle specifically.
Okay, well, it's a very good technique. It's not like a webinar where somebody lectures at you and tests you and things like that. What this is based on, for everybody to know, is that learning circles works because we're all teaching each other. The facilitated person, myself, will help keep it on track and maybe have a few prompt questions like, what is a learning circle? And have you ever been in a learning circle? And you all get to discuss that this is more of a collaborative reading. And I am going to try to pull up a video this time to see if this can work a little bit better than it did the first time I tried this. Okay, 1 second. Sure. Well, I don't think I can quite do this. So I will go ahead and pass on that. But just to tell you basics of it is, like I said, what I said earlier is that this is a learning experience, and I'm learning as well because I will have this down next time if we have to do another video and things like that. I thought I could do this, but I don't want to waste time fumbling, and because we do want to keep ourselves to the clock. But if you have any questions about facilitated learning circles, just think of them as a meet-up study group. And this is I've participated in a few learning circles. They are very helpful to people. You retain the knowledge, and not only that, we are in a virtual story time atmosphere right now. All of our programming is virtual. And we all started pretty much at the same time doing virtual story times. And the experiences that people have gained from it is probably on the equal level of everybody out there right now. So, you know, you might have had experiences with parents and teachers and with kids and things like that that other people haven't. And those are the experiences we want to share. And you may have ideas that have worked for you that will save everybody else a lot of time in doing this. So let's go. Okay, 1 second. And let's move on to the, oh, shoot, doing it again. Hold on. 1 moment, sorry for this. My share screen, I'm doing this with the touchpad, which is probably a mistake. So let me do this one more time. Okay. Sorry about this. I'm a little bit all thumbs on this today. No.
Bruce, I had a thought last night that a learning circle is like one of those very, very active listservs where we're sort of crowdsourcing answers to probably common questions, and people with experience and skills are, you know, answering and helping. So that's what I thought. I'm on the ARSL listserv, and I feel like any question I'd ever have about small and rural libraries is there. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, let's try this one more time. I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a difficulty here, and I don't know why. Okay, might be that unstable connection. Okay, everybody see that? Okay. Okay. All right. So anyway, like I said, my apologies for this. Okay, and we discussed this, what makes Learning Circles a valuable tool. This is a collaborative learning, and it's where you're going to share with each other what you've discovered along your journey. And it's a collaboration of your experiences. Okay, what we're going to discuss in this upcoming weeks is the early literacy skills you're all probably aware of. And it's phonological awareness, vocabulary, print motivation, print awareness, narrative skills, and letter knowledge. We're wanting to talk to you all about how the best practices that you guys have for sharing these skills in your story times. Or if you haven't been sharing these in your virtual story times, we want you to begin to do this, because we feel this is very important right now for reasons I'll explain shortly. And we're also going to be discussing mind in the making. And these are 7 executive skills that we want you to also incorporate in your story times. And they're focus and self-control, perspective taking, communicating, making connections, critical thinking, taking on challenges, and self-directed engaged learning. Now, in our virtual story times, you will be teaching these skills to the parents to teach to the children so that they can retain it. So you have to figure out, or we have to figure out the best way of incorporating these into your story time and engaging the parents to teach these skills. And we will be having Sarah Schrick. She'll be coming from the Children's Cabinet, and she will be helping us with these skills, and she will be having some aids and stuff like that in case you're not familiar with these skills. Okay, and this is going to be our timeline. We're going to have 5 sessions, and this will be every other week. It's going to be at 10 a.m. on the next one will be November 2nd and November 5th. We'll cover probably 2 of the early literacy skills and 2 of the executive functioning skills. And we'll talk about, you know, if you're using these things into these story times, this will be a good time for you to help others. And if you're if you have a brainstorm at that exact moment, a eureka moment, you know, that will be greatly appreciated. So this will be our schedule, and as you can see, the last one will be December 17th. Okay, now this is the reason that I wanted to talk to you about why we're doing this and what is at stake. As you can read from this, 2/3 of Nevada's school-age children score below a basic level of reading proficiency. And this is from the State Educators Literacy in Crisis in Nevada. It's July 20th, 2020. I have about 3 versions of this PowerPoint, and I had this linked out, so my apologies, but we'll get all that information to you for review. But basically, things have gotten worse because of the pandemic. Children's brains do not stop growing. They do not stop developing because of the pandemic. And our literacy rate is probably going to fall. And it just depends how much is it going to fall. And that's what this is an attempt to make that fall less and make us and also provide a chance for the libraries to prove their value and worth in this time of crisis, which we've already done, by the way. Totally agree with that. But we're really of this point that we can step in and we can help the schools and we can help the parents. And right now, there are women and men who are not going back to work because they want to take care of their children at this time, because they can't send them to school. They don't feel safe sending them to school. And they are desperate for need for information in helping their kids develop and grow. And we can provide that gap. We can fill in that gap. I shouldn't say provide that gap, but we can fulfill that gap. And the other thing that I would like to point out to you guys is that this is a good course for all librarians and library staff to participate in. Everybody should have a basic knowledge of these skills, not only for their patrons, but also for themselves to use in their own families. This is a good development tool so that when the kids get ready to go to school, they will have the necessary skills to thrive in the changed environment. And it's one of those things that I think you can all agree on as librarians. And I'm pretty sure you've already had experiences with parents who don't know what to do with their kids right now. They've YouTubed them, Netflixed them, Zoomed them, and especially with people with their first babies. I'm not a guy who can have a baby or, things like that, maybe one day. But let's just be honest. When you have a newborn and you're a newborn mother, and with the pandemic, you're isolating yourself, or you're isolated because you can't have your mother come in or your family come in, it would be a good idea for you guys to, remember, put yourself back in that executive function place of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and saying, God, what was it like when I had a baby and there wasn't a pandemic on, or the first time I had to take care of a baby? So, remember that. And I think that you will definitely help a lot of people with this. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint right now because the dachshund is way too cute. And, let's discuss some of this stuff. And we do have a couple questions. We will be, we might be giving you some stuff to practice over the couple of weeks. Maybe link some videos and throw some things in. But let's talk about what your experience. Let's start off with what has been your experiences with virtual story time that surprised you when you did your first virtual story time. Anybody?
I'll say I'm Nicole from Henderson. We actually aren't doing any of ours live. We're just pre-recording them. So we don't get that interaction. We don't get that face-to-face. I don't know if that's something that will change in the future, but yeah. So for now, that's what we're doing. So I feel like you don't have a lot to add to that part.
Yeah, that is true. And but this is the other thing. These skills are also good when you do start having those interactions again with parents. You're learning. These skills are to me, they're easily transferable to a face-to-face situation than a virtual one. Virtual programming is basically staring in the void unless you're doing a live story time and you're allowing participation and for people to actually talk to you, you're not going to get that instant reaction that you're so normal, so used to. So we have to, in a way, we have to be like we're on television with a scripted, how do we talk to the parents about what's the proper method for getting a child to read a book, or how to read a book to a child. And one of the things that people have suggested is have a puppet, and the puppet can take the place of the child, and you can, let me grab my, I wasn't planning on this, give me a sec. I'm going to.
Let me ask a question, Bruce.
Yeah.
In my previous job, I did story time, and I took a lot of classes on how to do an engaging interactive story time.
Mm-hmm.
And how is everyone feeling when you don't have an audience to play off of? I wouldn't even know what to do. I wouldn't even know what training I needed to switch everything up, because everything I did was very interactive. What does the cow say? Right? Can you make this, right? So has anyone encountered that, or?
Sulin, this is Betsy. What I did is I still made it interactive, and then I made sure to do a count pause so that they could interact with the screen. And then I kept going on.
That is great. I like that.
So you proceeded as if there was an audience, and it would be hard for me to.
Well, this is a suggestion that I read somewhere, was that bring in staff members when you do the recording to be your audience. If you have it doesn't have to be like a whole 5 or 6, but maybe 2 or 3. And if you have kids, bring your kids with you and use them as props and have blackmail material on them for the rest of their lives. So, those are those were some suggestions that I'd read. The other thing is that you have, if you're recording these, you can edit. If it feels like if it feels like something isn't working, you can edit it out or reshoot it, or do more takes or different angles and things like that make it appear like you're actually interacting, because this is a lot of learning. One of the hardest things that I had to learn was to get used to my own voice and my own face on the screen. For some reason, I thought I was more Hollywood than I was and am. So do keep in mind that our appearance, that's the biggest hurdle to me, is to get used to the sound of your own voice and how you look on camera. We had this, one of the librarians and library staff from the other session was saying, I just do puppet shows. I don't even want to be, just use puppets, not even use people. And, can you use these? But really the thing is to develop a virtual programming that I think is flows, and that it seems natural. And that's going to take a couple of, practice runs, a couple of falling on your face. I fell on my face pretty badly in the first one of these. So, you got to be prepared to keep trying, and also listen to the others in this room, like what works for you. Jana, how many, you guys do baby story times, baby John? Jana or Vanna? You do early literacy?
So Vanna and I are the ones that are in charge of doing family reading program here at Carson City Library. We have not tried or attempted to do that virtually yet. We probably will be doing that in the next, starting after January sometime next year. Jay, our coworker Jay, is in charge of doing all of our virtual story times. She has done Facebook Live. She did that for the first 3 or 4 months, and then she has recently switched to Zoom. So it's more interactive now. What she has found with that is that she's having less people attend at time of, because with Facebook Live, they were able to go back and watch it throughout the day. So it's kind of a trade-off. She has better interaction now because she's using Zoom, but she's getting less people attending, I think. Vanna, do you have anything to add to that?
Nope, you pretty much said what we're doing. So we're here because we want to look. We don't know exactly how we're going to do family reading program, but it's good to know that if we did pre-record family reading program, we could like edit and have, you know, maybe our staff be part of the audience. So I'm just taking notes of what we could do for family reading program next year.
Well, let's speak about how many story times does everybody do a week or a month? Let's just say a month. How many virtual story times do you do a month?
So Jay does it once a week, so 4 times a month.
And that's just one session, or is it like 2 sessions? Okay.
Session.
What about Go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, yes, it's one session virtually, but before the pandemic, we were offering 2 in-person sessions a day.
Okay. Lisa had a little bit of a comment, which I'd like to read. I pretend that they're in front of me. I give them time to answer. I watch the videos with my grandkids and they answer the questions and play along just as they did in person. So it does work. We just can't see the reactions. Thank you for that, Lisa. So yeah, just remember, they may be reacting, you know, like they normally do. Kids are really good when you tell them to do some things. But the other, Nicole, how many sessions does your library do?
Well, so we have 3 locations, and
Right.
I work with Betsy. She works at one of the other locations, and we kind of have been taking it like we have every 3rd week. And during that week, we'll do like a teen program, maybe a family story time, a baby story time, a yoga. So it's kind of a mix. It's whatever that branch is deciding to do that week, but we have to do at least a minimum of 3, I believe it was. But it's kind of a mix of things. But there's usually at least one story time in there.
Okay. And Debbie said that they do 2 story times a day. Whoa. Wow.
Well, they are pre-recorded. So we show one story time at, I think, 9 or 10 in the morning on our Facebook page. And then we show another one at 4. We also are doing a First Chapter Friday, where we specifically for tweens, so from 9 to 14-year-olds, and we read the first chapter to them, give them kind of a synopsis of the story, and tell them how they can access the book again when they, so that they can read the rest of the story. So we do that on Fridays, and that shows at noon on Fridays. We're also just starting a baby story time and a mindful movement story time. So yeah, we're doing a lot of different things, but they're all pre-recorded. We also have ukulele story time, or not story time, but she plays the ukulele and then sings some songs with a specific theme and everything. That one's really fun.
Great. Fantastic. If there's anybody else want to pipe in on how many that you're doing? Okay. Oh, I think I said that. Yep. Okay. Well, this is the thing, is that all of you have done if you worked on a virtual story time, you know how much time it takes to prepare one and how long it takes to shoot one. My wife, Kira, has told me the nightmare stories of how long this took and how much longer it took than a regular story time. A regular story time, the prep seems, you know, doesn't take into account lighting, doesn't take into account camera, doesn't take into account getting people to help you And then there's the materials itself, and then what you're actually going to do. She says, no, everything is okay. No, never mind, that was privately. But anyway, got to read those little red texts. These glasses are not good. Anyway, but still, the point on it being is that the prep time does give you a chance to be a little bit less spontaneous, and the temptation to edit out mistakes if you're recording it is good, but sometimes those mistakes actually make for more entertaining story time, like when the head of the doll falls off or the dog runs in and starts barking for no reason, which mine do occasion. So, you know, there is that. There's, which do you prefer? Do you prefer live, and why? Or do you prefer recorded, and why? Anybody?
Hi, I'm Emily from Washoe County. I'm fairly new to the public library. I was a elementary school librarian, and I used to do kind of like a little spooky Mr. Rogers kind of story time that was pre-recorded. And I had, if you can see them, these little rat guys do little stop motion kind of funny little, you know, quips. So just in case, I mean, not just in case. So it felt more like our regular story time in the library at school. We would do our silly little dances, or we would do some sort of funny little interactive joke thing. And instead of the students, I had those guys. And it's been an adjustment to work with the full public, not just my little community at my school. So, and I just wanted to pipe in also, Sulin, if that's how you say your name, I apologize if I say it wrong. I totally empathize with playing off the little guys, playing off their faces, seeing when they're confused, seeing when they need clarification, because here you don't see that. You can't say, oh, this is what that word means, or oh, maybe how do you think this character is feeling in this moment, because I can see it on your face that you want to say something. So I'm sorry if I went off a little bit on that, but I just wanted to add that to the discussion.
Yeah, it is Sulin, thank you. And I don't do story time anymore, but when we've been talking about this whole, how do we help you switch up everything to virtual? How do we help you do all of these mind in the making skills and family reading program? And it did make me realize how much I relied upon that interaction. And it's even the same with Zoom. It's a lot easier. I turn my camera off all the time, but it is really a lot easier to see what's going on with all of you if like we can see your faces. And so I don't have answers to that. It sounds like you guys are making it work, but at the same time, it's like it's all trial and error. And yeah, anyway.
One of the things that I am absolutely certain about is that when the pandemic is over, we're still going to be doing virtual story times. It's still going to be a part of our services to the public, you know, and put, you know, one of the few things that comes out that will come out of that is we will have moved our services to a wider audience, because anybody can come and log on our website or log on our YouTube page or get onto the internet, and and Facebook, perhaps. I'm not really sure how long the retention on videos are on Facebook, but even so, where this service is still going to be a part of us to the public, because I think they will also come to expect it, you know. And but our outreach will be global. We are no longer bound by our county, by our hour of story time with the kids and things like that. So we have a big opportunity to help anybody, anywhere, anytime with these programming, which is one of the reasons why we want to help you incorporate these early literacy skills and executive functions into your story times. You don't have to do a dedicated early literacy program, because most of you know that shooting one of these things takes a lot of your time. And especially when you're a small library, or you have you have new duties like curbside service, you know, wiping down surfaces and doing temperature checks on people, you know, and also manning the telephones and things like that. It's like you don't have as much time as you used to have to do your story, to do an individualized story time. And if you incorporate these skills that help the parents and caregivers, this will help when kids are allowed to go back to school, or when they feel safe enough to go back to school, so they won't be as far behind. And these skills are all very good skills for everybody to know. I really encourage, you know, we are recording this and we are going to be putting this up for anybody to go and see, I think. And, you know, so that you can share this with library staff anytime in the future or in the present, but not the past. Can't do that trick yet. But, you know, and I don't know, it will probably stay up there for a very long time, probably longer than we'll live. You know, I mean, as long as the computers and internet are still functioning, it will probably be floating out there for everybody to see, use, and whatsoever. So think of this as you're expanding your audience to everyone in the world now. And, you know, if you become a rock star, you can get a My Only Fan or something page, or monetize it for your own personal wealth or something like that. I don't know, but you know, you're doing really well. And hey, Sarah, I did not see you there. I'm sorry. So, are you wanting to share anything?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I certainly can share if you guys want to go through a couple of things around executive functioning, and I can just sort of introduce that mind in the making stuff real quick. Does that sound good?
If you can do, we're coming up on the closing, and I'm sorry I didn't.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, but if you got something brief, I'm going to make you co-host, and you can share it, okay?
Okay, I'm going to, make me co-host, and I'll put up a slide that you can see.
Okay. Oh, by the way, introduce yourself, Sarah, please.
Hi, I'm Sarah Schrichty. I work for the Children's Cabinet in Reno, and my job is the statewide coordinator for Mind in the Making and Vroom. So we're running those programs out of the Children's Cabinet. We're partnering with agencies all around the state to do training in Mind in the Making, professional development training, and to provide Vroom materials and training to early learning providers and other community partners and parents. So let's see. Trying to look at my controls here. Share my screen. This says the host has disabled screen sharing. So I think it's because I'm not the co-host yet.
You're not? I thought I made you co-host. Hold on. This is annoying. Okay, let me try it again. My bad, Sarah.
That's okay. It's no biggie if I can't do it.
Okay, should work now.
All right, let's see. Let me find the right one. I'm gonna go back up here. So really, I just want to talk to you really quick about the kind of the basics behind this program. Mind in the Making is really taking all this research and like those and taking it down to those 7 essential skills that Bruce showed you before. And what we're going to do over the course of the next few weeks is kind of introduce each of those skills and talk a little bit about ways that you have or can promote those skills and building those skills with parents and helping parents to do it with children. So basically, what's behind what really works to build those executive functioning skills are positive adult-child relationships, back and forth interactions, and the promotion of our executive functioning. So a lot of these things are already happening. And for the folks that are logging on and doing virtual story time, just that means that some of the stuff is already happening and it's already there. So we're really just trying to stretch out those moments and make more of them. I'm going to kind of skip past these. Executive function can seem a little bit like nebulous, but really what we're talking about is these basic behaviors that are goal-driven. So things like needing to hold something in your memory, like the plot of a story, in order to keep reading and stay, follow the storyline. Inhibitory control, avoiding the temptation to go on autopilot and instead try to incorporate all what's going on and make decisions and focus. So these are things that are happening in the front part of our brain, and these executive function skills kind of develop naturally, but it's really important that we promote them. And these are the ways that we're going to talk about promoting them, right? These are how we promote those executive function skills. So like I said, a lot of what's going on, or a lot of what needs to go on, is already happening. Once your families are with you, a lot of these things are already happening. So we're just going to help parents see that these are ways that they can do a little bit more. They can stretch out those moments. They can understand why the things that they are doing naturally, particularly when they're reading with their children, why those things are important for their child's brain development. So these are some of the things that these are ways that we are going to talk about incorporating those skills. And when we come back in the following weeks, we'll look specifically at those 7 skills, and we'll use these kind of guidelines to think about ways that we can promote them. So I'll leave it there unless you have questions for me, and we'll get into more of the nitty-gritty later.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sure.
Sarah, I think it would be super helpful, because our next session is 2 weeks from now. If you could just share with us ways over the next 2 weeks that we can think about everything that you just said and maybe start adding those things in, I don't know, tips, a tip, homework, I don't know.
I would say the homework is for you to be thinking about your own executive functioning, right? That's usually the place we start. And when we do Mind in the Making module trainings, we talk first about what those skills look like in our own lives, right? So when you're thinking about your own executive functioning skills, what do you do? What are your strategies for staying focused? Like when you sit through a meeting like this, or God forbid, a really long meeting where you're not really interacting. How do you make yourself stay on task and, not go and look at your social media or whatever it is that's calling you? So think about how you are as an adult. How are these executive functioning skills working in your life? Because that's usually the way we start, and we understand the importance of it in our own lives. And then we can start to think about what it takes to build that in children. So think about the ways that you practice inhibitory control, how you practice your working memory. And then the third one that I didn't quite mention is your cognitive flexibility, right? So your ability to take in new information and incorporate it, even if it changes or alters your existing understanding or beliefs. So again, I want you to think about your inhibitory control, your focus, and working memory, and cognitive flexibility, right? And then when we come back around, we can think about, how you might start to think about ways that you are doing well and other ways where it's very clear to me when I am not doing well, like when I'm not relying on those executive functions and I do go on autopilot. So maybe you'll see some moments in your own life, and then we can come back next time and we'll start to talk about kids.
Hey, Sarah, can you put your email in the chat, please? And that way, if anybody has any questions for Sarah, you can contact her, or she can send you things if you need them. Also, Betsy, you have the $1 million question on every librarian's mind right now is what do you think will happen with copyright? It's most of the publishers, I think, are kind of extending it, and I think it's a wait and see situation right now on how we're going to handle this in the future.
Bruce, can I ask a question just for my own clarification? I know that the Northern Nevada Literacy Council's Family Reading Program is using the Mind in the Making skill building book, you know, this whole, it's not a program, but these resources, right? So they have, Mind in the Making has a long list of children's books for different ages and then corresponding materials for skill building. And I'm not sure if you all are familiar with that. It's an option if you're concerned about copyrights. These books are already selected. I can look into any kind of copyright kind of concerns, but I think that might be an option. And there are a lot of the books that you might be using already. Maybe if people want to stay on for a second, I'll find that link and put it in the chat, because it's something you might want to explore. Just even as an individual librarian, it can give you some more ideas for books and how to incorporate these skills. So I'm just going to poke around here and get that link and put it in the chat if you don't mind.
Oh, no, not at all. Past the time that normally this would be scheduled for. I'm stopping the recording right now. Thank you all for attending.